Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Geekcast podcast. My name is Greg St. Clair.
Dan Whitehead. Patrick Howard.
And today we have two special guests with us. We have
Gerald Foster.
Nate Shrader.
We all just came back from seeing, well, first of all, it's the episode 26, and we just came back from seeing the Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice movie. We saw it 9:30 IMAX 3D at our AMC Owings Mills Theater, which we came an hour and a half early for and sat first in line for an hour and a half. Some asshole thought I said, "Hey, this is the beginning of the line," and he's like, "Cool," and then just stayed there.
And I was like, "Where to do something?"
He just stayed there, and nothing happened. And then I saw other people ask, like, "Where's the end of the line?" And I pointed, and he's like, "Oh, was I in front of you this whole time?" I'm like, "Yes, that's why I told you this is the front of the line."
An inch away. He tried to blame it off, and it's just like a brain fart or something.
Yeah, no, you clearly knew, sir. You clearly knew.
Yeah, you're trying to jump the line, and we weren't having.
Random no name who cut in front of us. Fuck you.
Just get on your douche canoe and get out of here.
Paddle away.
Oh, sorry.
So right now we're gonna go around and just give our thumbs up, thumbs down, middle thumb review. Nothing totally explained first, and then Dan's gonna give us a spoiler-free synopsis of the movie, and then after that we'll alert you guys when the spoilers are coming, and then we're pretty much just gonna go apeshit after that and just talk about everything. So Dan, you can start. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs middle.
I'm gonna say thumbs middle. For me.
Okay. Talk, sure. Gerald.
Oh, we're just going to go like that.
Now you can talk. Now we're circling.
Thumbs up. I give it a thumbs up.
Thumbs middle.
Thumbs middle.
I'm also going to give it a thumbs up. Cool. I'm not going to explain myself because I said we wouldn't do that. Also, if you hear random crunching, we are super hungry. It is...
like 1 in the morning.
Yeah, it's not. It's like 12. No, it is almost. Okay, yeah, it's like 5 till 1. Most of us haven't eaten since like 6 o'clock, so we're pretty hungry. So Dan's going to eat this tub of caramel corn that my mom gave me. And Mom, if you're listening to this, honestly, I thought the caramel corn kind of tasted funny, so I gave it to Dan.
I'm enjoying it. Thank you.
We also got some goldfish, whole grain, baked with cheddar, and some Utz extra thin pretzels. So I mean, this is our plugging of advertising for all these snack products. So,
this is made by Johnson's
caramel
corn.
Johnson's caramel corn.
Motion City, New Jersey. Hey.
No wonder it tastes so weird. So
that's why I like it.
Yeah. So just so you know, if you hear any crunching, that's what that is. Could you not slam the carton on the table?
Not this water bottle thing again.
Yeah. I understand. You can keep it on the bed if you like to, and just like snuggle with it. So Dan, please give us a spoiler-free synopsis of the movie. Go.
Okay. You gotta finish.
Okay.
I got it.
So I had a good day.
Okay. So here's how it goes. Trailer kind of showed you a lot, but it didn't. Basically, the events from Man of Steel play into this movie to the effect of Bruce Wayne, played by Ben Affleck, was there on the ground when it was happening, trying to save people, get people out of his company, Wayne Financial, and sees Superman as an alien monster, God. What are we going to do with him? All that kind of stuff. He sees him just as bad as Zod, right? All this destruction to the city, it's not good. So he kind of starts looking into him, and at the same time looking into Lex Luthor, who is played by Jesse Eisenberg, all new characters, because he's obviously up to no good, and Batman investigates what's not good. So Superman has to deal with the ramifications. Ooh, that was a big word for me. Ramifications of what happened.
That's a 5-syllable word.
Damn.
That's crazy.
Cheers. Ramifications of what happened. People are calling him on it. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? We heard from Charlie Rose on it. We heard of Anderson Cooper on it, which was kind of cool. I always love when they bring real people.
Yeah, CNN big supporter here in the movie. It was nice to see the Silver Fox.
Yeah. So, and of course, certain things happen that lead the two titans of Batman and Superman to have to face off and end up working together to take down a common foe.
Yes.
I think that
was probably the best way to describe it.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Nothing really else that could be said other than things you've seen in the trailer. such as Holly Hunter, Senator Finch, kind of being the head senator on this case of Superman.
Very against him.
But, well, I don't know. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
But I think, is that good for spoiler free, guys? Anybody else have anything to add for the spoiler free
Did I
section?
miss anything?
No,
Well, I
I
mean-
summed up pretty well.
Patrick?
I mean, you see this in the trailer, but also Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Wonder Woman's there.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's there, of course.
Yeah, that's all we're
She's doing her own investigating.
Yeah, well, that's all we're going to say about that. Patrick can pleasure himself to that in a little bit here.
He
But
loves his girl Wonder Woman.
as of right now, spoiler-free section is over, and we are currently getting into the spoiler section.
So it's 5 minutes, almost 6 minutes in.
6 minutes in, we are now getting into the spoiler section. Repeat, there are spoilers about to happen. If you do not want to hear this, turn it off. If you want to hear all the stuff, open your ears, because we're about to drop some knowledge.
Boom.
So,
We want to work our way through the movie?
yeah.
Okay.
So, in the beginning of the movie, Batman, Bruce Wayne, is narrating, and he's basically talking about what's been going on with Superman, but at the same time, it's showing us clips of the origins of Batman.
Correct.
Being one, his parents getting gunned down, which, by the way, the shooting of his mother, one of the iconic things is that her pearl necklace
breaks,
gets ripped.
yeah.
The way it happens in this movie is the pearls are actually attached to the
Gun barrel.
the gun barrel at the back of
So
the
it's like
pistol.
an accident, kind of like.
And once it fires, that's how the pearl necklace breaks. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
That was the most
Probably the
innovative.
It was
best
the hammer
use of the
that
3D, actually.
Yeah, it really was. We saw it in 3D. We don't necessarily recommend seeing in 3D, but
not
if it's the only
needed.
time you can go ahead and do that. But no, definitely the best way I've seen the pearl necklace break. You see him fall into the pit of whatever, and coming up.
Wait, you're, just to explain, it's cutting back and forth between the murder and the funeral
Yes,
of the parents.
thank
So
you.
he runs off, and he's running through the woods, and that's when he falls in that thing.
So he falls in the thing, and then coming up is probably the worst
Oh my God.
shot of the entire movie, in my opinion.
Not shot, just sequence, I think.
The sequence in general. So, he falls into this cave of some sort, old mining shaft, and this is where he gets his fear of bats. It's an iconic thing. It's happened in all the movies and the comic books. We know this happens. The way it happens in this movie is that the bats are flying at him and start to circle him, and all of a sudden the bats are lifting him, and he's kind of floating in the air like he's the floating
He said
Christ
it's a
of
dream.
bats.
Yeah, but it seemed more like a dream.
He said it was a dream.
Was
You
it
said
a
it was a dream?
Okay.
It was a
Okay.
dream.
He said, in this dream, they always, grab me or something. He said it's a dream.
Okay.
I was confused.
Yeah, it's a dream.
Fine.
Yeah, it was like, I heard the line, it went by so fast, like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It was there. He said,
Okay, it was a dream. Okay, because it was a dream, I guess it's fine. But if it wasn't a dream, it was still the dumbest thing ever.
Most of the dream sequences were kind of meh.
Well, the dream sequences always came up at a time where I was like, was this a dream or what? Like, there's the obvious nightmare sequence that we knew was coming.
Right.
That, like, okay, we can tell he probably fell asleep at some point, and that's a dream.
Even the
Then there are
scene-
some where you're just like, okay, what?
Well, even the scene right after that with Ezra Miller,
Yeah.
That-
That caught me off guard.
that was a little sketchy.
Let's get to that.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
So, with that is when Dan was talking about Bruce Wayne, which you've seen in the trailers, going through Metropolis, trying to get to Wayne Financial, trying to save people, as many people as he can. One of the iconic people that he saves, the person that comes up later in the movie, is this guy named Wallace.
Wallace
Yeah,
Keith.
Wallace, yeah.
Wallace Keith, who was the doorman of Wayne Financial, and he ends up not being able to feel his legs at this time. And, he saves the girl. Bruce Wayne sees all the destruction that's happening, is like, oh, this can't happen again. We got to prevent this somehow. So then we cut to
Jump forward 18 months.
18 months. Lois and it's not Jake Owen. It's some other person in the Daily Planet.
No.
No, he's a
CIA.
he's a CIA.
He is definitely CIA.
Yeah,
Lois
that
He's
didn't
a
know.
captain. Yeah, so
Right.
They
I
used
wasn't even
him,
know.
they used
Yeah.
her
They were
reporting stuff.
in the Middle East somewhere. India. They were in India.
No, they're in
Africa.
Africa. They were in Africa, and it's.
Going all around the world, Greg.
Yeah.
Don't say it's the same thing.
I'm not gonna say the same thing. It's one of those Eastern Hemisphere countries. Well, Africa's actually a continent, so they were in somewhere in
That's
Africa.
almost like saying it's the same thing, but moving on.
We're just gonna keep rolling.
Just
I live
keep
on the
going.
West, man. What do you want from me? I got West Coast vibes. They're trying to get some information, and it turns out that the person that Lois is with is actually a CIA agent, and they shoot him. And as they capture Lois, Superman comes in and saves the day. Lois discovers a bullet that is very unique that was used to shoot some of the people in this African village. Called a village. And eventually she takes that and looks into that further. Does anybody else want to talk? I just want pretzels.
Okay. So yes, most of her like story for a good half of it is trying to figure out like what's the bullet, what is its connection. So she goes after the general from the first movie, whose name I forget. I know he's in the blacklist. I knew Gerald would know he's in the blacklist, but I can't remember what his name is.
Harry Lennox is the actor's name. I forget his character's name.
But he was a general in the first one. He's the black general in the first one, and so he kind of like agrees to do it finally and looks into it and gives him information that it's from LexCorp. All while we're seeing LexCorp, and he's presenting it as this great kind of almost Facebook kind of company where we see him playing basketball and hanging out and just being
very Mark Zuckerberg again.
Very Zuckerberg.
Yeah, the character that Jesse Eisenberg plays is Lex Luthor. The beginning, it seems like Mark Zuckerberg with more of a personality.
Right.
Yeah.
But definitely later, through different scenes, you kind of see him be a little more insane, which we'll get to once those scenes come up.
Right. So continuing on, he talks to Finch, who is the senator, Holly Hunter, and tells her that his people found a rock of kryptonite that can, if need be, take out any Kryptonian, in this case Superman. And he wants her to sign off and give him permission to bring this rock into the United States so they can do tests on it and blah blah blah. And of course we find out later on that a little later on that she's not for that, and she wants another way of taking Superman out. She wants to it almost she doesn't want to stop Superman. She just wants to control Superman.
Yeah,
she doesn't think that he
I
can
feel
be.
like she knows he's trying to do right, but I think
She just wants him to account for his actions.
Yeah, I think she just believes he's out of control.
No, she likes him a lot, but at the same time she doesn't like him. It's pretty much just like a Hillary Clinton character.
Yeah, I
But-
can see that correlation.
Yeah, Lex got this kryptonite stone from the Indian Ocean. I know that one for a fact. Indian Ocean. They dug it up.
Yep.
A cut scene between this though is the doorman Wallace. Pretty much is Lieutenant Dan. He ain't got no legs. And I whispered that to Dan during the movie. I was cracking jokes. I didn't crack too many jokes.
No, we didn't say too much.
It's
Towards the end, I was saying a couple things.
probably could've
Because
we were able to though because we knew it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
But he's the one who tags false god on the Superman statue, which you see in the trailer.
Yes.
That's him. He goes to jail. Okay. After that, Zuckerberg is talking to one of the people in Congress.
Lex.
It's too similar. It's too similar. Lex is talking to one of the people in Congress, saying the congressman saying we can work together on this. What do you want? Lex goes, I want full access to the Kryptonian ship.
While unraveling a Jolly Rancher.
While I'm having a cherry Jolly
was gonna
Rancher
use some
and
editing
putting it
or
in his
something.
mouth.
That-
It was just fun. That was just fun.
That
was
was
fun.
That was a nice touch of
The
DC trying to
second thing he wants to do is total access to the body of the deceased Zod, whose body's in perfect condition because he's a Kryptonian, and apparently they don't decay 18 months later.
Great performance by Michael Shannon.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Very silent, very quiet.
Very reserved.
and then one of the things he was doing with the kryptonite to Zod is that he was actually removing his fingerprints, which he'll
With a Kryptonian knife.
yeah, which he'll use later in the movie, which we'll talk about once we get to that scene. But where am I at here? Tracking Superman takes him out. Man, I have no idea where I'm at right now.
Cool. So let's see. Then it kind of gets into Batman because he wants to use his Batman persona to go after Lex and blah blah blah. And Alfred's like, why don't you use Bruce? You're getting more information as Bruce than as Batman. And he goes, well, how am I going to get into his house without being Batman? He goes, well, you're invited to this party. So
Well, are you going to talk about the first reveal of Batman?
oh yeah.
So the first reveal of Batman is that they're in some abandoned apartment that's super shitty.
Apartment, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Complex, yeah.
and it's cops entering. So we see cops entering, and they end up going into the basement, and they see basically women being trafficked, or women who are about to be trafficked. And with that, they're about to open the gate, and the woman, in whatever language she speaks, goes, "It's still up there. It's still up there." And
I'm pretty sure that's the lead girl from Gran Torino.
But
okay, yeah.
so the cops go up. So the cops go up there. When they go up there, they see the human trafficker chained up to the heating?
It's a heater.
The heater.
Yeah.
And he has a batarang. Not really a batarang. He has a Batman. What do you call that? Branded.
Yeah.
Like a heat brand, like you do to cows, on his chest. And the cop, and you see the cops right here, just portrait wise, and then beyond you see a unfocused dark creature. You're like, oh shit, here it comes. So the cop turns, sees him, starts firing a freaking 12 gauge at him, trying to kill him. Obviously doesn't succeed, and in the case ends up accidentally almost killing his partner.
Yeah, because he turns around almost 360 and fires at his. He's like, "You almost blew my face off," and Batman escapes out the roof.
So that was our first taste of Batman, which was actually kind of cool to see. That reminded me a lot of actually Dark Knight Returns. No, not Dark Knight Returns. I think I'm thinking of Year One, Batman Year One, where he's in the building for the first time, and the cops are coming in and. It's kind of like an abandoned building.
I have a feeling Zack Snyder pulled that from here.
He pulled a lot.
I'm sure.
A lot of shots.
Zack Snyder's whole thing was, if you haven't read the comics and you're just going off the Man of Steel, then yes, this Batman vs Superman movie is going to look really, really different. But if you're a true fan of the comics, you're definitely going to understand this movie. That's 100% true.
I've seen some iconic shots.
100%, yeah.
Just like the climax, yeah.
100% true. A lot of the stuff was from the comics, which is what DC fans have been begging for decades, to use the book.
And we got it. Sorry.
We didn't get all of it, but
not everything.
It's the best so far that we've had.
I was waiting for a certain line to happen during their little battle, but
oh
same,
well. Same. No,
I was like, is it now? Is it now?
Well, I know this will be the day that you remember
that the one man who beat you.
The one from Dark
Knight. We'll get into that fight later on, but so you're talking about Batman trying to get into LexCorp for this party.
So yeah, he gets the invitation to the party, and he goes as Bruce, because it'd be weird to show up as Batman. And he pulls up in his car.
Hi, I'm Batman. I'm here for the party. Or the cocktails.
And I'm getting drunk in
That'll be in the Lego Batman movie.
In my duct tape suit. But no, so he pulls up in this nice car, of course. All stag, and he buttons his little jacket, whatever. And Clark turns to this other photographer, is like, "Who's that?" And he's
before this, I don't know if you mentioned that Clark is really adamant about trying to do a story about the Batman for the Daily Planet, but Lawrence Fishburne's character, whose name escapes me,
Perry White. Perry
White.
Barry White.
Perry.
I know, it's a joke.
Like Perry the Platypus.
Okay.
Like Perry Cox.
It was a Scrubs reference.
I knew he'd get it.
It's like nobody cares about. It's the whole thing that nobody cares about Clark Kent taking on the Batman. Do a sports puff piece, whatever. So he's really trying to get the Batman. So sorry, continue.
Okay, so he's like, "Who is that guy?" And the guy's like, "Oh, you must be new. That's Bruce Wayne." So that fast forward, now they're inside, and Wonder Woman's there. It's pretty much our first introduction to her, right? She's not Diana Prince, right? She's not in Wonder Woman garb. That'd be funny. Is this not a costume party?
I'm not sure she's on the list.
Yeah. They'd probably think she's a freak or something, but she's looking good in this little nice red dress and stuff.
Yeah, the theme of Gal Gadot this entire movie was, let's not wear a bra.
Yeah.
And you know what? That was okay with me.
I ain't even mad. So they, Bruce is making his way around, and Alfred's in his ear, not literally, but earpiece, whatever, telling him, "Oh, turn this way, go down to this." And Superman or Clark was kind of listening, I hear somebody talking.
Because he can hear that.
That was great.
Yeah, he's got super hearing, whatever. So Bruce goes down the stairs, whatever, and he ends up putting this little mechanism,
little hard drive kind of thing.
Pretty much.
Into the server, and he's downloading, very typical kind of these action-y movies where they're downloading everything and copying and blah, blah, blah.
I mean, it's a classic Batman detective thing. Is really what it is.
Right, he's getting all the information. It's true. So Mercy Graves, who's the first live-action version of Mercy Graves, comes in. She's Lex's assistant for those that don't know. She comes in and is like, "Can I help you, Mr. Wayne?" Everybody knows Mr. Wayne. They're always like, "Oh, Mr. Wayne."
She kind of looks like Mirage from The Incredibles.
Yes.
A little, actually, yeah.
She's like super thin
Without
and
the
like
silver
kind of
hair.
like without the silver hair.
The
It's kinda like-
Asian Mirage. basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so she comes in. He goes, "Oh, I was just looking for the bathroom." Like,
I'm gonna have a Clementine.
one martini too many, or some drunk joke or whatever. And so she just leaves, like doesn't make sure he gets out.
Well, like somebody said, like, "Hey, we got a situation." It was like, "Hey, like we need to talk."
But
to
even
her.
so, I feel like she'd be like, "Okay, come along now." Like then I'll deal
Yeah,
with the
right.
situation. But either way,
I'll just leave you here by the equipment.
yeah, go ahead and stay. I know you're looking for the bathroom, but so he stays and he does this thing, and it's like 7 minutes. He's like, "I can't stay down here, Alfred." So he's like, "Go up there, get lucky," kind of thing. Is basically what he said. He's like, and then he says to himself, he's like, "Yeah, keep dreaming, Alfred," or something like, "You wish, Alfred," something like that. Alfred says it to himself.
He had the most. I feel like he had the most one-liners actually in the film.
Yeah, he had some
Alfred
funny
was
one-liners.
fantastic.
Alfred was great. Jeremy Irons did an excellent
He
job.
did a good job.
Well
Yeah.
done, sir. Well done.
And so he goes back upstairs, and he ends up running into Clark, and he's like, "Oh, Mr. Wayne, like, what's your deal?" And he's kind of bombarding him with questions. "Oh, what about the Batman?" and blah, blah, blah. And he ends up saying, like, "Are you one to talk when every time you have Superman in town, you write this little puff piece about it?" And he kind of catches him off guard, and, they have this other little quick conversation, and he's like, "I've had enough people, dressing up as clowns." And it was like a nice Joker reference. Yay!
Not the only one.
No, not the only one, but I think the first one.
For some reason, I keep thinking that like Joker would like pop up somewhere.
Maybe, yeah, that would have been
I
nice.
would have been mad if it did.
Yeah, I would have been like, no, not the right time.
Too much.
Too many people. But anyway, so, and Lex ends up breaking up the tension. He's like, "Oh, I love bringing people together." Like, whatever. And,
Is he Mickey Mouse? I don't understand what
Hey,
he's
everybody!
happening.
Okay, oh, it's Batman! Oh, you have some nice script! So anyway, that was good.
That
Weird.
was a good impression.
Thank you. I'll do the rest of the podcast as Mickey. No, I'm kidding, I won't.
Thank God.
So, what ends up ending their conversation? Oh, he gets called away from the governor or something, and then
Bruce goes back, and the hard drive finishes downloading all the stuff, so Bruce goes down.
Clark
he's
follows
out,
him.
follows
excuse me,
him.
and Clark follows him. But he doesn't like go in with him, right? Because he goes into the. Oh no, Clark ends up having to go.
He gets distracted by this, like,
there's a
news.
fire in Mexico, and there's a child stuck in a burning building, blah, 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 blah. So instead of Clark watching it, we actually see Wonder Woman watching what he's doing,
Right.
of downloading the files, and she ends up...
Because she was like being shifty that whole night, kind of like going, just weaving throughout. Just kind of
And when he ends up going back to get his little drive, it's gone. So he, of course, assumes she has it because they make eye contact, and he kind of follows her out. And she drives off, and it's like some Lambo or something like that, some real nice car. And he kind of is just like, damn it, like, does this little spin around and everything. We're really going like play by play here.
Yeah.
We'll go bigger strides, I think. So,
We'll be here for 2.5 hours.
yeah, right, we're already at 23
I do
minutes.
need to leave in like 10 minutes though.
Okay, so let's see, and then Doomsday shows up, and then they fight him. So,
There you go. That's
so, so fast forwarding again, things are starting to get tense. I'm doing real short version.
Sorry, Diane's looking for a picture, which is the reason she had those files. Diana was looking for a picture that Lex had that she needed. It was a picture for her. And what else is happening? Batman, Bruce Wayne keeps having all these weird dreams. So one of the most iconic ones that we've seen in the trailer is the Nightmare, K-N-I-G-H-T, Nightmare, which is like the dust
That
storm
suit
suit.
was badass.
It was
awesome.
really cool, and basically it takes place in the Superman apocalyptic world where Superman's kind of like the overall reign. In a way, hold on. So Batman ends up getting captured by the Superman militiamen, whatever you want to call them, and gets unmasked, which we've seen in the trailer, and Superman goes, she was the most important thing to me, talking about Lois, we can all assume.
Assuming, yeah.
for assuming.
Or his mother.
Or it could be his mother. I took it as Lois, and at the same time, I thought, oh, that's kind of similar to an Injustice storyline.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
if
Very much
Lois
so. It's like,
died,
yeah.
Superman goes rogue and starts basically
just
killing
Joker
people.
killed
Yeah.
her. Yeah, I remember that.
So Bruce Wayne, this is when he's downloading the file. He wakes up from that, and when he wakes up, all of a sudden we see somebody talking through this portal. It's the Flash, Ezra Miller Flash from the future. And all of a sudden he's like, you were right all along. It's all about her. Lois is the key. And then he's like, am I too early? Yeah, I'm too early.
I remember him saying that. I remember him saying, like, you gotta come with me.
I remember him saying that. Did he say that?
I remember
It was something.
I
I thought he was, like, trying to come with me.
No, I thought it was just more like warning him. Like,
Yeah, it was more of a warning.
It was more like a red
like,
herring.
watch out for
Like,
Lois.
Yeah,
Lois is the key.
Either
or whatever.
way, whatever he was saying, to me, I thought it was very weird.
it was very vague.
And I know that was the kind of the point, but it was, like, extra weird to me. It was just like I don't know, it didn't fit with
It was
what
just very
happening.
forced
Well, put it
way
this
to
way.
set up the Justice League.
Christopher
So,
Nolan was executive director,
Producer
of that, and so he had a little Inception plug with the waking up from a dream. So that's what that
yeah,
was
and then
just to confuse the audience.
after the whole Flash thing, Bruce Wayne wakes up again, and you realize that was also a dream, or was it?
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan Inception thing.
Like, intuition.
But again, it was just something to entice Bruce Wayne, Batman, to take out Superman. In a way, a lot of the stuff that Bruce Wayne and Batman are going through in this movie about trying to make sure this crazy thing doesn't happen again and trying to prevent accidents like this is very, very similar to the idea of Tony Stark, currently what's happening in the Marvel Universe, which is probably going to happen in Civil War, which is probably the main cause of the Registration Act of him hedge funding this, is that he doesn't want destruction like this to happen again, so he's going to do whatever it takes to stop it. Mm-hmm. That's very much what Bruce Wayne is doing in this movie.
Yep.
So he finds all this Flash stuff out, he opens the drive. He opens the drive, and in like these secret files, it says it's called the Metahuman Project, which was mentioned by Senator Finch and Lex Luthor, and it's been mentioned throughout the entire movie. And in this drive are 4 files. Mm-hmm. The first one has the Wonder Woman signal, double W, and Bruce Wayne clicks on that and sees Diana Prince, the woman that he saw at the gala. Mm-hmm. The other 3 files have the logo of Cyborg, the Flash, and Aquaman. Mm-hmm. As of right now, we just see the logos. So moving on. What's moving on?
Well, you mentioned there was the picture that she was looking for.
It was from
1918.
yes.
It was her, like, it looked like in a battlefield. She was all, like, Wonder Womaned up and, like, with a coat over it. And then she was standing next to Steve Trevor, played by Chris Pine, and then, like, 2 or 3 other guys with her.
Yeah, what was that again? Like
the photo. It was an old school photo that she was in.
From 1918.
I think it's probably World War I.
Yeah, World War I. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it's the same time period that the movie is going to happen in.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
That's where. So it's kind of setting up the movie in a way.
Yep.
And one, of course, Bruce Wayne's taken back by this. It's like, how is that possible? And whatever. And then what happens next? It kind of jumps to something.
So the people are calling upon Superman to stand trial. Mm-hmm. And hear out the people at the desert, which is the most thing they're concerned about, the beginning thing where he saves Lois and Lois finds the mysterious bullet. This is kind of what he's on trial for, to hear what's going on. Because we see a scene one in the courtroom where it's an African woman talking about all this death that happened when Superman came to their village. Mm-hmm. So he's there, and Wallace, who was the one doorman, tagged the God poster, went to jail, was bailed out by Lex Luthor, and is basically making him kind of the campaign of Superman's a monster. Look what he did to my legs. He gives him a Professor X wheelchair, really nice suit, and he's also one person saying like Superman better come to this and talk about what he's done wrong. So he's there at this trial. Superman comes walking in. There's people protesting outside. We love Superman. We hate Superman. All that good stuff. He walks in. People are like, "Oh my God, Superman! Oh my God, Superman!" So he gets in there and he starts talking. And as Senator Finch is doing her opening spiel, she realizes this jar that is on her desk. She turns it and sees it's called Granny's Peach Tea, which early on in the movie, she told Lex Luthor that he could basically eat shit. And somehow mentioned the phrase Granny's Peach Tea.
He could like piss in a Granny's Peach
Tea. Yeah, try to convince her and she won't believe it.
About this kryptonite weapon to stop Superman. So she sees this. Then she looks at the seat where Lex Luthor's supposed to be sitting, and he's not there. People are looking around, what's going on? All of a sudden, it's just a dead shot on Wallace in the wheelchair. And poof, huge explosion happens. totally blowing up the U.S. Capitol courtroom, whatever you want to call it. And then you see the flames go away, and you see Superman just standing there like, what's going on? Like,
So Mercy
Or like he knows
dies
that he
then,
was
too.
framed. Yeah.
That's what
all those people died. All those people died. And there, Senator Finch, Wallace, Mercy died. All those people died.
He was realizing that he was like, yeah, I'm being framed for this, or
Yeah.
I think he understands the other.
Like maybe this much destruction is my cause. The Earth didn't need a Superman before I got here. What makes them think they need one now?
Exactly. I'm just making things worse.
So he's going through a lot of personal things. He talks to his girlfriend Lois. He talks to his mother Martha, which I had no idea that his mother and Bruce's mother had the same name until
Yeah.
I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
And then
We get to that scene again.
as Superman is Clark's trying to find himself, trying to figure out what's the right thing to do. He walks through the Fortress of Solitude and sees his father Kevin Costner stacking rocks, I guess.
It's on a grave. It was supposed to be a grave.
Oh, it was a grave for him? Alright, so he was stacking rocks on his grave. In his own imagination. So Superman also has his own dreams and fantasies in this, and basically Dad tells him an inspiring story that makes him believe in himself again.
Mm-hmm. Like he did in Man of Steel, basically.
And then, I miss you too, kind of thing.
What's going on here? So Lex, after the explosion, uses the fingerprints from General Zod that he cut off his skin. You heading out, Nate?
Couple minutes.
Couple minutes? Okay. You were getting up, I was just asking. Uses his fingerprints to access like the captain's quarters in the spaceship. So he gets through all this stuff, he starts talking to the computer, and you see him bring in Zod's body and sacrifices his own blood, pours it on Zod, and the computer's like, all this, Kryptonians don't think this should happen, and Lex is like, well, where are the Kryptonians now? Basically just a giant metal thing to Krypton. So they put Zod in this, they call it a chrysalis. They put him in this chrysalis, and you know what happens in
Comes
chrysalises.
out as a butterfly. That's great.
Yeah.
A butterfly that...
Zod was winged. Like,
yeah, really. So that's happening in the process. We see Batman training, creating all these kryptonite weapons that he ends up stealing from Lex after the bomb happens. You see the Lex Corp's all messed up, and then all the kryptonite's gone, and you see a Batarang where the kryptonite was. So he's training for all that. While he's training, Lex kidnaps Martha, Clark's mother, and he also kind of kidnaps. This isn't really a kidnap, but he gets Lois and brings him to the top of LexCorp, tells her his plan in a way, and this is where I think we kind of lose Lex as a character for a lot of us. I think all of us agree here that Jesse Eisenberg did a wonderful job as the character of Lex that was written in the script.
Right.
yeah.
He
But-
fulfills the character for that.
But the character of Lex that was written in the script is not the Lex that we're all used to.
Right.
Me personally, I'm used to a very suave, calm, cool, collected, very smart,
Very cold.
very cold Lex.
Calculated.
Very Lex Luthor. This Lex Luthor, to me, I compared him to a hybrid of Riddler and Joker.
He did, especially with the hair.
Yeah.
Like, he looked like Heath Ledger at times.
Yeah. It's the hair and just the way he was talking. There were some things where he was talking to himself and it sounded like it was just gibberish. And then he would like scream and then he would calm down. It was just very schizophrenic and kind of all over the
It's
place.
frantic. Like he realized he didn't have everything together, but he was just going with his plan.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we kind of lost Lex the character, which we can talk about after we're doing the synopsis. But anyway, tells Lois a plan, pushes her off the building. Superman comes in and saves him. Lex shows Superman that his mother's held captive and that the only way he can get her back is if he goes and kills the Batman. So this is where the Batman versus Superman fight officially happens. Mm-hmm. Superman's trying to reason with Bruce. Batman ain't having it because
he's like, I already set up all this stuff.
There's like a Sonic thing. There's like turrets. Batman has all these booby traps because Batman just has to plan ahead for everything because he can't think of it on the spot.
Because he's a fart smeller.
He's a fart smeller, and So Superman's like, fine, you want to fight? Let's freaking fight. So they start fighting, and of course, Batman's
Kicks his ass.
Batman's only way to defeat Superman is putting kryptonite in front of his face.
It still counts, okay?
It does not count.
Bottom line
count.
is he makes Superman bleed, which is all I wanted to see. So
Yeah,
because he asked him before, like their first like face to face,
which is in the trailer,
where he's like, "Tell me, do you bleed?" And then he's like, "You will." And then it's like, "That's all I'm gonna make you do."
I got the last word.
Yeah.
It's like fighting someone with the pants around their ankles. Like, it's not fair. I'm just saying the only way. I'm just saying, defending my man Superman here. The only way you can defeat him is
this is an argument that'll never have one of those resolutions,
No.
whether in movies, whether in comics.
It does not have
It was a good fight. They both had their moments.
No.
And
I'm not saying any aspect that Superman should have won. I'm just saying that the only way Batman could actually beat him is if he gives Superman the stone that can actually kill him.
I said this to a friend the other day. Even if it's one way out of a million ways, it still counts.
And you know what? I'd much rather have him just have kryptonite in his face and actually come up with a plan like that than have him just be a punching contest like Man of Steel with Zod.
And now I lost my train of thought. So move on.
Oh,
Good.
nuts! So they start fighting each other, and Batman ends up making Superman bleed. He has a kryptonite spear that he's about to unleash on him, and Superman's like, "Martha, Martha, save Martha!" And Batman's like, "Why are you saying the name? Why are you saying the name? Why are you saying the name?" And Lois comes in, he's like, "It's his mom! It's his mom! It's his mom!" So Lois comes in and saves the day, and Batman's like, "I promise you that Martha's gonna live. Just go get Lex."
Okay, wait. Stop. Time out.
Okay.
That was the quickest, like, friendship change I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, we have the same names? No
We
way.
have the same names?
Oh
okay,
my
we can be
God.
friends. Okay. She's not gonna die tonight. When we get back, makeover. That's how that felt to me.
I wish I had a camera.
Bad news. I only have black nail polish.
Yeah, because black.
Slumber Party.
Yeah, because
Justice League Slumber Party.
when he saves Martha, he's like, "Hey, I'm one of your son's friends." It's like, so you're your friends now? You're just beating the shit out of 10 minutes ago.
We
Well,
had
they're
friends like that
time.
growing up. You would get into a fight with them, but you were friends
what
with
would
them.
what would he tell her? Like, hey,
I mean, I'm
the
sure
guy
it
was
was a
beating the shit
comfort.
out of your son right
Oh,
now.
no. I definitely agree with Dan. But it was definitely a quick turnaround just because of the fact that the moms had the same last name. Obviously, Batman. First name. Obviously, Batman holds the whole death of his parents over his head, and that's his whole reason. One of his whole reasons.
They
for
set that up.
being
I was
Batman.
expecting that.
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely were. I was just waiting for Superman just to say something, but definitely a quick turnaround because all of a sudden, just because the parents have the same name, you're like, okay, now we can fight on the same side. I'm pretty sure Lex Luthor's mom is also named Martha. You want to like make out with him too? Like, I don't understand what's going on.
It was just a very common name that year. They reported. No, but in the comics and in like Justice League, the cartoon. It always like Batman's always very hesitant of like everybody, especially Superman.
But it's like one thing that like turns it around.
Right, but no. Actually, I felt like the same. Like I felt different. Like especially with Justice League Doom, he was always just like, or I'll work with. I'll be a part-time Justice League member. Like when you need me, not when I need you, but when you need me. With this movie. It was very much like, I'm going to do everything for Superman. I'm going to, we're going to be friends.
It was mainly the fact that his mom was also named Martha. So his goal was just like, okay, I got to save Martha because she's also my mom.
I understand that, but
that's all he wanted to do. It wasn't until he officially saw Doomsday where he's like, okay, we obviously got to be on the same team now.
Yeah, but even so, he was never hesitant on it. Like, he was never like, oh, hopefully he doesn't turn while we're fighting. You know what I mean? It was just like, cool, you got my back, I got yours.
Well,
like
he's the type of person. I think
he was very trusting, very quickly.
I think the way they presented it, that is true. But I think it was more like an enemy of my enemy is my friend for that moment.
Yeah,
and he realizes that very fast. So anytime that, like you said, you had that change where Martha is the same name as my mom. That hit a nerve inside of him. That was like,
I think he.
That's
I don't like if that's all you have left. I don't want you to lose that as well because I know how that feels.
Exactly.
Like.
I think that's. I would agree with you. I was like, oh shit! Like he's about to lose his parents too. I don't want that to happen to someone else. I gotta fix this.
Right. And then going into like you were saying, then Doomsday shows up. It was one of those things where like, I physically cannot defeat Doomsday, and he realizes that if I don't figure out a way to stop this guy, then everyone is gonna die. So whatever issues I have with Superman right now, we're cool because I just saved his mom. So how are we gonna do this?
And we're probably totally gonna bone later. So I mean, I guess I could.
Yeah, sure, why not?
No, but so Doomsday comes, and as he comes out of the chrysalis, what are you laughing? Are you laughing at me?
Something good.
Just me being
Butterfly
dumb.
The chrysalis, that's all.
Yeah, so Butterfly Zod turns into Doomsday, and all that stuff goes down, and they're trying to beat him. Bruce Wayne comes back, trying to defeat him after rescuing Martha. And it's like the oh crap moment, and then from the trailer, it's when Doomsday fires his heat vision at Batman, and Wonder Woman blocks it with the gauntlets, and that's in the trailer. You've seen that,
But they make it look like she does it with the shield.
Yeah,
The way they spiced
So in the movie, it's the gauntlets, and it was the coolest thing ever. Wonder Woman's entrance was so good.
She has the coolest theme music. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
the music was great, like very like AC/DC kind of like rockish.
It was
That
awesome.
That
sweet
was
electric guitar.
courtesy of Junkie XL. Fantastic soundtrack on it.
I really like the music.
Yeah.
But I gotta go, so I'll catch you guys later.
Bye,
All right,
Nate.
cool.
Thank you
Nate,
for coming
Nate,
in.
Nate.
Overall, it's okay. Fans will love it. I can understand why people wouldn't like it. It's okay. Fun experience.
Right.
Cool, man.
Cool.
See you
Thanks
guys.
for doing
Good
it.
night, man.
Take it easy. So yeah, Wonder Woman comes in, the coolest thing ever. Does her little fight stuff, has the sword, has the shield. Like, all right, I guess we're ready to take this out. Superman comes back in, and then you see the whole "is she with you? I thought she was with you" thing.
Even though Batman knew he was with her.
Yeah, right.
They were together. Like, what the deal was, but he just had to be fun.
So that whole sequence happens.
Oh boy, there he's
We
just...
kind of glaze over him rescuing his mom.
Yeah, they never like.
Oh.
Yeah, I got your mom. She's cool.
Yeah.
She's doing alright. Let's move on.
She's not part of the the
But I
damage.
will like to say that entire
Well, no.
fight sequence
No, what
was
happened was
fantastic.
that Superman came in to LexCorp the second after there was a timer. Second after the timer was done.
Right, yeah.
And then Lex is like, up, too little, too late, says the White Rabbit or whatever the Alice in
That's right,
Wonderland
yeah,
quote
that
was.
was cool, yeah.
And then gets a call from the people who are supposed to be protecting, who are supposed to be guarding
That's right.
Superman's mother. And he's
Yeah.
like, oh, here they are. I'm sure she's dead now. And Batman's like, think again, or whatever he says.
No, he says, I want to hear the good news or whatever. He's like, I'd rather tell you the news in person or something,
Yeah.
something along those lines.
Yeah.
So
I'd rather break it to you.
Yeah, I'd rather
so they
break it
don't
to
totally
you.
glaze over.
I kind of lost track of where she was during all that freaking like atomic
Yeah.
Right,
destruction.
Stay in
Next thing you know,
Central
Doomsday pops
City.
up.
Yeah, and then
it
we'll
was
battle
just like,
over.
So, Doomsday does this entirely like EMP, basically. That just does a whole like circumference of like at least 100-mile radius. Probably not that much.
It was more like
Probably like 100 feet. 100 feet.
Yeah.
But anyway, during Batman,
it's like, what the fuck?
Batman has to go high because he's a pussy and he's human. And Superman and Wonder Woman are like, oh, give it to me, yeah. So then they go after Doomsday. You're trying to fight him. Batman's trying to figure out what's going on. Like, oh, we gotta get the spear. Meanwhile, not 15 minutes ago, Lois is like, oh, let me take this Kryptonian spear and throw it in this like body of water because
Like
we're
this
never
big puddle.
gonna need this again. This bitch. Yes, we do need this
I
again.
swear to God, her
She was so annoying. That 5-minute sequence. Sorry.
Easy, Gerald.
it's funny, her role in this movie, I swear to God, was just the same as it was in Man of Steel. Where in the beginning she was really cool and like was doing her thing,
And then she was
but in
in
the
way.
climax she was doing all these stupid little mistakes. Like, oh, you bitch!
Pat could honestly say for me, like the whole time I kept like screaming at like it's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I love that she just kind of chucked the spear like,
Get away
Wait.
from him,
jerk.
So, she's like trying to get the spear and doing all the chaos. The building falls down on her and she's kind of trapped in this puddle. And we're really close to seeing Lois Lane die. But unfortunately, Superman hears her and goes to save her.
And it's just like,
and then she drowns. And then she like she like coughs up water. And I lean over to Dan. And I go, that's kind of hot.
which I was kind of like,
Okay.
okay.
If you whatever floats your boat.
She was gagging. And
So you like that more than the cup
they get the spear, And Batman during this time is trying to avoid Doomsday. I didn't care what you guys say. He's trying to avoid Doomsday, running away, the little bitch boy he is. And
Who was running away?
Batman was running away.
As a little bitch boy, I don't know about that.
Oh, I think he was trying to avoid, Doomsday at all costs.
You mean when he dived into that thing to survive?
No, I'm talking about when he's like grappling between buildings and stuff.
Oh,
He's
well,
trying to-
What
was
would
like a better
you do
footing.
in that situation? Stand there and take the laser beam to the
Oh,
face,
I'm
right?
sorry. I thought Batman was just like really, really tough.
He is.
And he
is.
Yeah, but he is.
He's also smart, and he knows that I'm not going to stand here and let a laser beam rip through my face.
Even though
and
the
they had to
fact
get that Frank Miller shot.
even though I
Exactly,
know,
that too.
but
That
even
makes
even
that.
though the fact that he has a kryptonite smoke bomb in his hand that he
He
can
has
easily
one
stop,
left.
I understand that, but they have the spear. Superman is holding the spear that can kill him. The radiation is killing him as he flies towards Doomsday and stabs him in the fucking chest.
And then Doomsday turns
the
around
one
and
thing
says,
about that
What did
was-
Batman do? Just ran away like a little bitch boy.
He shot him in the face, which slowed down Doomsday long enough.
He had to get
for
like a better
Superman to get
footing
close.
of like. He had to, yeah.
Superman could have got close either way.
No, he wouldn't
Thank
have.
you, Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman also.
Yeah, it was Wonder Woman.
By the
Wonder Woman
way,
did all the work.
Wonder Woman was the one that did most of the fighting.
She did.
She
was-
was
she
supposed
was-
to say
yeah.
that though.
Yeah, and then it was like, and it grew back. It's like a weird.
Well, yeah,
like a middle
I
finger
mean,
thing, yeah.
the more and more they fought Doomsday, the more and more he started to look like his comic book self, which he has like the ridges and
He, like,
the spikes
shed
coming
his,
out
like,
of his
skin.
back.
It was, like-
Yeah, it was really, really cool. Oh yeah, Wonder Woman was doing all the work. Batman's just running away like a little bitch boy, and Superman's carrying the thing that could kill him, and then stabs Doomsday
what I was gonna
right
say,
through the chest.
What I was gonna say with that, with the spear thing, when he was flying, because it was so close to him, I wish it was like when he was flying, it was kind of like, and he like kind of gets weak. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like kind of get like falls
Well,
and then gets back up.
He
like,
definitely
back-
started. He definitely started off weak. Like when he first started flying, you saw him kind of
tell
dip a
what's
little
gonna
bit.
happen, yeah.
But he obviously realized, like, okay, Batman's not doing anything. I got to do all the work now. And then he goes in and flies in and hits Doomsday.
You just have to keep putting in there like Batman wasn't doing shit, and
So he stabs Doomsday in the chest.
I would like to say though, he created the spear. So
Yeah, but if he
just saying.
all right, fair enough.
So
yeah.
All right.
So you're welcome,
So you're
Superman.
yeah, Wildcat.
But what happens to Superman?
Yeah, all right. So Batman creates a spear and then loses it to the fucking reporter of the Daily Planet in the puddle.
Because he left it behind for Martha. So then Superman, he jabs him in it, jabs Doomsday, and Doomsday's like, "You're gonna stab me, I'm gonna stab you." So he
Right
stabs
through
him
the
back.
chest. That was impactful. That
like,
stab was
I
like
felt
that.
I was
felt
like,
that.
oh my god.
yeah. That stab
No,
like
no, no, no.
you didn't totally see it coming. When he did, it was just like
So-
right there.
So then, so Superman kind of dies, and then little bitch boy Batman somehow survives. It's weird. It's crazy.
It's like there was a world.
There was no chance at all.
Because
for
he
him to
was
survive.
running and hiding the entire
No,
time.
because he blast. I'm not. No. Okay.
That's a totally different podcast.
It's gonna be like another hour. of that.
Yeah. We're already at 47 minutes. So
God, that went by fast.
yeah, well, because this whole synopsis is taking forever. So Superman dies. We're just gonna keep it quick here. Superman,
there's funerals.
bunch of funerals, and then Wonder Woman and Batman.
Wait. There's one thing we really forgot, which was that before Wonder Woman came to the fight scene, she was on the plane,
Oh yeah.
and she's like looking at the news, and all of a sudden gets a message from Bruce Wayne saying, "I know who you really are." Sends her the picture from 1918. He's like, "Who are you? Like where are you from?" All this other stuff, and then sends her the extra metahuman files, and she starts clicking on the files. So the first file she clicks on is Flash, which is Ezra Miller, who has like crazy long hair for some reason. I know
Very
Dan's,
emo looking. Yeah.
I know Dan's still not a fan. He's in like a convenience store, gas station of some sort.
Yeah.
He's getting something from the drink section in the coolers.
Milk.
And as things are as he's doing that, somebody's trying to rob the cashier, and all of a sudden you see him like Flash stop the robbery, and then you just see him standing back at the cooler. Then she clicks on the Aquaman file, which is it's kind of like a submarine in a way that's kind of like going through the ocean.
Yeah, it's like
and,
a first person.
and they get into this like coral reef crater type thing, and all of a sudden you see like eyes, and then Jason Momoa pops out, looks so amazing.
Although it was kind of weird, him just like standing there for a while, and I was like, is he
I
gonna do
thought
something?
I thought he was gonna stab the submarine until he like boosted off. But Jason Momoa looks so
He
cool.
did stab the submarine.
Oh, he did. Okay, I was right.
And then a
But
different
he kept
camera
going,
picks him
yeah.
up.
Okay, but yeah, he looks so cool as Aquaman. Really excited to see more of him. And then the third thing she clicks on is Cyborg, and you see Cyborg's dad, trying to fix his son. As of right now,
There's no way that motherfucker would live. He was like from like boobs up.
well, I mean,
It was probably
they
just
had
a little
his
brain
upper
activity.
they had his upper
So,
body. It was brain activity and heart activity, which I'm sure was somehow kept alive. But his dad's pretty much
Which
like,
technically-
there's a really good chance my son's gonna die. And then like another clip happens of him trying to work on him, and then another clip happens, which it looks like the Allspark and Tesseract had a baby.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's this cube thing. It's just weird cube morphing thing. And I don't know what the DC term is for it. I apologize for my lack of knowledge. But it's pretty much like an Allspark or a Tesseract. And basically starts fusing the pieces of Victor Stone together as Cyborg. You hear him start screaming. Which, by the way, his scream sounded so similar to the Cyborg from the Teen Titans animated series. That got me really excited. That like like all that kind of stuff. It just sounded so realistic. So I was really excited for that. So we see all those videos. So we start seeing all these people come together. So that's just one thing we forgot to mention before the funeral. Sorry.
Right. Okay. So now at the funeral, Bruce and Diana are talking, and he basically says to her that I want to like look into these other people that are like you. You know, put the emphasis on the fact that like she has powers and the other people have powers. And basically he's saying like I want to form a Justice League without forming a Justice League. Like he didn't directly say let's form a Justice League. No, he was like let's go out and like help them, and they can help us, and we fight and blah blah blah. And she's like, what do you mean fight? So then it cuts to a quick like flashback of Lex in jail and the cops like telling him, all right, put your head on the wall, I'm gonna cuff you, blah blah blah. So you're seeing it from like his perspective. All of a sudden the lights flicker and stuff, and then you see it from like his front, but his head's on the wall, and then behind him is Batman, and the lights are flickering, and he's looking all badass like he does, and he like turns him around, and he's like, what does he say to him? Basically threatening him, like, tell me what you know, or else.
Well, no, it's like I know who you are, I know where you'll go. Just know that I'll always be here. Basically, like threatening him, saying like you better watch your back, or else I'm gonna fucking kill you.
With his brander in hand.
Yeah.
And then Lex is like, oh, you can't undo this, and like kind of thing.
Very, very Joker-esque.
And so he's just like, and then like bam, and blasts the branding thing right next to him, and then like Lex kind of like flinches or whatever, and then he's gone.
But like Batman being the smart detective that he is, when he's talking to Diana, he's talking about, I just have a feeling that we're going to need all these metahumans together at some point.
Yeah.
So he knows Darkseid's coming. He knows a higher power is coming.
Which was an interesting thing for them to do it this way, because from what I know, as far as Justice League goes, I always thought it was Superman that kind of spearheads the Justice League, not Batman. Again, being that temporary volunteer kind of person.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily Superman who's like, let's get all these guys together, but it's more or less that
He like leads them.
he leads them. He is the morally perfect choice to be the leader of the Justice League.
So it's
He has
interesting though that they're deciding to make it Batman.
Yeah.
who's
Well,
kind of
Batman's
pushing it forward.
Batman's really just assemble the team, because that's his like tactician side, where like we need these people to get this job done. Something
Right.
bad's coming. These are the people that we're gonna need to get it done.
Right.
But he's not necessarily he's a leader, but he's not a vocal leader. He's not.
Yeah,
going to,
he's
like,
smart. He
necessarily
realizes,
go-
like,
and I mean, in
choices.
the comics and the animated series, it's a lot of there's this higher power, and then somehow because of this higher power, all these heroes show up at the same time, and they're like, "Oh, we fought really good together," or "Oh, this power's really really high. The only way we can beat him is if we all team up together." That's normally how it goes.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I do like this a different approach where it's like, no, we need to go find these people.
yeah, and then the very last scene of the movie, they show a picture of Clark's grave, and Lois threw dirt on it. And as the movie starts to close out, you see the dirt start to rise a little bit. So Clark's alive. He's not dead. He's coming back. Can't kill Superman. Not gonna happen. You can kill Batman. Can't kill Superman.
Yeah, but we're not going to get into that. That's all.
All right. Anyway, overall, my personal opinion of the movie is that it was. I don't count Man of Steel as the intro movie to the DC Cinematic Universe. This movie is the real intro to the DC Cinematic Universe, because it introduces all these characters. It's really setting up for really, really great things to come. Was it fantastic? I don't think so. I thought it was very good. I thought it was very entertaining. I thought all the actors did a great job. I thought it was great casting all around. Being Ben Affleck for Batman, Jesse Eisenberg for Lex Luthor, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, perfect casting. Did I not like some of the characters like Lex Luthor? Yeah, I didn't like the Lex Luthor character a whole lot. But it's a really good movie for this thing to really, really kick off, for the DC Cinematic Universe to finally happen. My opinion. Dan?
Yeah, kind of going with that. I thought it was solid casting choices. I thought, for what the movie was, Jesse Eisenberg did a decent job. But as we talked about before, it's not the Lex I'm typically used to. I always think of the Clancy Brown Justice League. Lex Luthor very just together.
Yeah.
Not so very like woo-hoo, like all over the place and young and stuff. Batman. I will be the first person to say that I didn't think Ben Affleck was a good choice for it. Now I am here to say that I think it was his best acting to date. I'm talking any movie he's been. I'm going to say it's his best acting. Yes, because
I won't necessarily agree with that, but I respect your decision. I respect your honesty of how you're wrong about him.
Yeah, you said you agree with the.
No, I don't necessarily agree with that.
Okay, here's why I think it is, because I think he did this nice job with Bruce, and he got the nice job as Alfred. Wow, as Batman. He also played Alfred, which is crazy.
It was basically
he was just going for it.
It was actually a Nutty Professor movie, and Ben Affleck just played everybody.
He played Wonder Woman. It was weird to see him in tights. No, I don't know. I just thought.
Rack.
Yeah. I thought it wasn't, because I always think when Ben Affleck, I always think of that Boston accent, and so when you see him in the town and Argo, more so the town, and he had that Boston accent, and obviously he was in Boston, so it worked and stuff like that. But just that's what I always think of. It's just the pak to have and yacht, and it wasn't that. It was just very
so
together.
As of right now, as a movie as is, if you can, do you think that he's the best Batman to date? Best holistic Batman Bruce Wayne combo. Is he better than Christian Bale?
Yes. I'm going to say yes, because I think he has it both. I think he's comic book Batman. I think whereas Christian Bale, people are obviously going to compare him to Christian Bale because he's the most recent and everything, and did a really good job. But they were different Batmans. They were different.
That's the right answer, because
Christian Bale Batman is that's him in a noir. That's the trilogy plays in the noir.
He was a detective that happened to be wearing a cape and cowl.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck is really playing this New 52, but also a little bit of Frank Miller Batman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Affleck's playing this hybrid of a Batman that is really what the modern age Batman is, what we all want to be.
And I don't remember who I sent it to, but I was very interested to see the Bruce Wayne parts. I wasn't.
You said you're talking to us about it.
Yeah, I wasn't bored when Bruce Wayne was
It
around.
wasn't okay when he's gonna throw on the suit, let's go kind of thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, normally I'm put the suit on already. I want to see a fight, but I was genuinely interested. I think he did a really cool. I keep saying interesting, but just a really neat job with Bruce. I thought Gal Gadot.
Neato,
yeah. Gal Gadot was great as Wonder Woman. Hers was I was just because I hadn't seen her in enough things, so I couldn't really make a judgment early on. But I think she's great. I think her accent's great and all that stuff. She's got the right warrior kind of vibe.
I love when she was getting her ass kicked by Doomsday, but she was kind of enjoying it. It's yeah, this is what I love.
Let's do this.
Let's do this, bitch.
She likes it rough.
She must.
Gerald, are you done?
Almost done. Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
So
I was just asking.
Yeah. Let's see who else. Alfred, great. Jeremy Irons is always good.
Yeah, definitely.
The gadgets were cool. The suit was killer.
You got to see the Batmobile and the Batwing in the movie.
In the same movie.
Which is so cool.
The Batmobile was ripping.
Dude, I have to give me one.
Yeah, the fighting, though. Let me talk about that for a second.
I was going to talk about that, too.
For a second, I thought I had to look down and I was going to see my controller in my hand because I thought I was playing Arkham. At some point, this part where I thought was actually the introduction to Batman was the part where he was saving Martha, so it was actually later in the movie. But here, Alfred, you saw it in the trailer, was there are a bunch of people on the third floor. Why don't I drop you off at the second? And so people were waiting at the door, and I'm like, bitch, he's below you. And then blows the floor out and jumps up and just nails him. And then he's just hitting these people. He's throwing a box at him. And I was just
very, very, very similar to the Arkham games.
It's the part where he goes through the wall, which reminds you of you can scan a room and see who's in there, and then you can put the side of the wall and come
I remember I heard you saying that. The guy was standing there with the gun, whatever, and he's like, go through the wall.
Go through the wall.
All of a sudden he's
Oh,
that's
the
how
fucking
excited
water bottle.
down.
Yeah, so it was, oh man, the fighting was just killer. Better when he wasn't in the armor, though. The armor one was just very clunky, even though it was all CG armor. But
The armor was cool, but the reason the armor was just so significant is because of the Dark Knight Returns.
right.
If it wasn't for the fact that it was Batman versus Superman, I wouldn't have missed the armor. At no point would I have been like, God, I just want to see this armor so badly.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, I
But
don't think you'll ever see it again.
It was great for like the 15 minutes that was actually in the movie, but it's okay. It really was. Honestly, I guess because Superman isn't like that. I don't portray him to be that huge. I was kind of hoping the armor would... compared to like the comics where like the Batman armor suit's like a Hulk smasher suit for Iron Man. It's huge.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily like that, but it was still
Batman was huge.
it was nice to see because of the undertones of Dark Knight Returns, but at the same time, yeah, didn't need it. Didn't love it.
The
Didn't love
gray
it.
suit, though, looked fantastic
Uh-huh.
on camera.
Yeah, like we joked about it, it looked like in duct tape, but yeah, it looks.
The cowl looked great too.
The cowl looked good. Patrick, you were in the room, but I said my one wardrobe complaint was I needed the cape to be wider. Because it was the right length, but I always love it when Batman's like able to stand there and he can like wrap himself in his own
like
cape.
an anime show where like
Yeah, he's like
very like
and then-
Dracula.
And then it's like the 5th of November, and then he's going to start blowing up the Parliament and stuff because he's V from V for Vendetta.
And like when he's able to like use the cape and like kind of make it into the wings, like in the Dark Knight trilogy, I like that. And we didn't really. I mean, we kind of saw it.
We
But
had
it was
that
just very
brief moment where
it was
he
very flexible. when he
at the
comes
beginning
through
of
the
that
window.
action.
Yeah, when he
scene.
smashed through the window. But it was like, yeah, it was just very like flowy and stuff. Anyway, not a huge complaint, but it just that's what it was. Anyway, I'd give it like a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
That's where I stand on it. So, Gerald.
Gerald's opinion?
All right. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Not so much for the story. I like a lot of aspects of the story. I don't want to get into too many details, because we basically just burnt through the whole thing. But I felt like what it was just trying to do is like, here's information. We're gonna wrap it up later at some point, but they were just kind of like just dropping a lot of stuff in because they were kind of expediting this process, which I appreciate. That was one of my complaints that I've always had with the Marvel universe, is that like they wait forever to explain stuff or like introduce stuff, whereas here we're DC's just trying to give you everything up front. Well, not everything up front, but as much like little information bits and pieces to kind of get you going, which I appreciated. But like I said, we already talked about the story. One of the things that I love about the movie are the characters. I think, with the exception of Jesse Eisenberg, not saying that he did a great job acting, like we said, as the script portrayed him. But other than him and the problems that we had with him, everyone else did a fantastic job acting. Anyone that says Gal Gadot cannot act, I think should smack themselves in the face, because this movie proved otherwise. She played Wonder Woman as I would love to see her play. This kind of strong character that's independent.
Who don't need no man.
Exactly,
Except Steve Trevor.
Right.
Yeah. Chris Pine's the exception.
But I love Alfred. I haven't had too much to complain about the different Alfreds in movies, but he's arguably my favorite at the moment. I would have to go back and review. I like Michael Caine's Alfred, but this Alfred reminded me a lot of the Alfred from the cartoon show, with a little bit more of the humor, but also like working on stuff too.
Definitely. It was really nice to see that Alfred, just because this movie really felt like a Batman movie in a way.
Yeah.
It wasn't totally focused on the Superman stuff. I mean, obviously that was the main events that were kind of triggering things to happen.
Yeah.
But at least for the first half of the movie, it definitely felt like an overall Batman film.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think the whole film felt as a Batman film.
I think until
they came up together and teamed up, obviously. But other than that, I thought it was
I think until Clark started talking to his dad, that it stopped feeling like a total Batman film. Because then it switched perspectives. It definitely switched point of views. The first point of view was definitely through Batman, but the second point of view was definitely through Superman.
Right. Which, kind of getting onto that real fast, is another thing I wanted to touch on. It kind of showed Superman's perspective, like you were saying, of how he realizes what he's doing isn't working, and how he's trying to help, but no one sees it that way. So he's stuck in the middle, like, so what do I do? Because he wants to help, he's going to help, but he doesn't want to, like... He also doesn't want to make everyone hate him in the sense that he's hurting everyone at the same time, so he cares.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked Man of Steel, and I thought Henry Cavill was a great casting choice, so... like I said, I thought he did great in that. He had a very different sort of character arc. It wasn't so obvious in that like it completely changed who he was, but we definitely, I think, moving forward, we're going to see that Superman that we're a little bit more used to. Whereas in Man of Steel, we got the young, raw, kind of figuring everything out Superman. This one, we still had that anger side, and we saw more of the loving side of Superman. And then I feel like moving forward, we're going to get that more peaceful. You know, let's
Boy
you know,
Scout.
he was like the Boy Scout.
Well,
Superman.
at this point now, he's experienced killing and he's experienced being killed. So he knows both sides of the spectrum.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So now it's because I mean, with the whole Batman thing, he definitely did not want to kill Batman. One, because he knew Lex was the villain, but two, he just didn't want to kill him because Lois talked to him saying this symbol of hope, all that bullshit that she always says. But he definitely was not about killing. For this movie, but the fact that he got killed and he's coming back to life is that it's really gonna shape him into this Boy Scout character where he knows what it's like to be on either side, whether the side of again being the killer and being the killee. Yeah. So I definitely agree with you that we're gonna get the more comic book Superman, which I'm really excited for. One, because I think it's the best version of Superman, and two, everybody can shut the fuck up. That's my biggest thing. People are like, oh, Man of Steel, why did he kill that guy? Because he's new.
Right, that was the argument I was always making.
They're showing, DC is showing the realistic side of everything. Yeah. DC is very, very good at showing the realism of all their characters. Yeah. That's what they were doing, and people don't understand that, and it really upsets me. Yeah. Was Man of Steel an overall fantastic movie? No, the script was not that good. But as far as an introduction to Superman, it was fantastic. Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, like I said, I love Man of Steel. And kind of touching on that point where Lois came up and you see Superman, as he's like, he's floating there and he's like I have to go reason with him. Mm-hmm. And when then he follows up with or kill him. Mm-hmm. And you can see in his face he's really torn with that, which I thought was a really good example of that's great representation of the Superman character through the actor. So I thought that was good. But I don't want to get into too many other characters. I want to take some time and talk about my man Batman. Like Dan, there are a lot of things I loved about Batman. I was one of the few people that didn't freak out when Ben Affleck was casted. I was just kind of like, okay, it's not the worst decision they could have made, but I wouldn't have personally made it, but I'll see what happens. Saw the first images and how much he had been working out and how big he got for it, so I was like, all right, cool, he'll be fine. At least look-wise. Now getting the chance to hear him and see him move and fight. That's one thing. Props to the fight coordinator and whatever fighting style they picked for this movie, because as much as I liked the fight scenes in The Dark Knight Rises, that was my biggest complaint with the entire Dark Knight trilogy, was that Batman didn't fight enough in that.
Or the combat wasn't as advanced as it should have been.
Exactly.
Or I couldn't see it.
You're right, yeah. I couldn't see it. It wasn't that advanced, and it wasn't anything that I was expecting. Whereas this is the Batman I'm used to from cartoons, throwing kicks, flying knees.
The Dark Knight trilogy, balls. Batman was head, body, right?
Exactly,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's different.
This was, we got a full, you could tell that whoever this Batman was spent years, studying different martial arts.
You didn't like my fighter reference? Christian Bale, head, body.
Didn't get that.
Oh, head, body,
God, who am I talking
to
right now?
I liked the part where he blocks the one guy's knife with the other guy's knife because it's coming at him. Blocks it and then stabs him or whatever. Oh, yeah. And then Batman gets stabbed and he kicks some guy and then stands up and is like, motherfucker.
And then stabs him right back in the same place. Yeah, that was
Speaking
sweet.
of getting stabbed, one highlight I love about the suit is that it looks like the
the duct tape.
The gauntlet. Or
the gauntlet. You're right.
His
the
hand,
gloves,
the gloves and everything. Those were bulletproof. The cowl is bulletproof, but everything else was not.
Yeah.
Because he gets stabbed at one point, and you can tell he's moving in a way to avoid getting shot. Yeah. Whereas,
No, the fact that the cowl is bulletproof is so cool because somebody actually tried to shoot him in the back of the head.
And it bounces off, and he kind of spins around and does one of
this motherfucker.
He's like, oh really? But love the fighting.
Brass knuckles and the gloves.
Everything about this Batman I love. Honestly, I guess it's kind of, I don't want to say this necessarily off of hype, but right now he's my favorite Batman, just overall. From suit to performance to how he is as Bruce Wayne to just everything about this Batman I love right now. I think the ear lengths are perfect because as a kid, I was always like, the ears could be too tall. It always bother me. If they're too short, they always bother me. But this is like that perfect kind of in between, which I thought was cool. Yeah, overall, 8 out of 10, and a lot of that 8 not so much comes from the story, but the characters, the actors, the production design. I love Zack Snyder and his work and the way he makes the movies look. Gal Gadot was fantastic as Wonder Woman. And props to Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL for making a fantastic soundtrack.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Pat?
Well, so like just going by like the trailers, I had a feeling what I was going to like and wasn't going to like, and actually I wasn't proven wrong. So I knew going in, I wanted like 3 things. I wanted Ben Affleck to crush it as Bruce Wayne and Batman in a comic book version. Because with Christian Bale, I think he killed it as both, but that really isn't like a comic book version of Batman.
That was a realistic version.
That's why I think, actually, I agree with Gerald here. Actually, I think Ben Affleck's Batman is actually my favorite right now. Mm-hmm. And also, I wanted Gal Gadot to kill as Wonder Woman, because she's my girl. And
I would like to say, Pat is the only one wearing something Wonder Woman related in this room in the entire night. There was only one other person that was wearing like a Wonder Woman thing.
And it was a girl.
Exactly.
Nothing wrong with that. But, she killed it as Wonder Woman. We didn't really get like kind of like the very compassionate side, the very because she's also an ambassador for her people with Man's World, but we didn't get that because it's more the action, and she had a very small
and it's her
part.
own movie.
Yeah,
she'll get that.
Yeah, she'll get that in her own movie. But the warrior side that we got in this was fantastic, and I love just. It's like a quick moment, but like I said, like when she's kind of getting her ass kicked and she's getting a little tired. She has that brief little smile, like she's actually enjoying it. She's like, this is like what she lives for. And
they said
it was such a perfect moment for her.
We didn't even see all of her abilities. They wanted to save a bunch for her.
Are you kidding
movie.
me? They had the gauntlets, they had the shield, they had the sword, they even had the lasso of truth.
That was
I know, but
they
said
the lasso
they still haven't showed everything.
Well, I mean, she still hasn't put on like the full like gladiator uniform. There's like a full like gladiator
That's
full
what I mean.
body
Yeah.
armor.
They're saving it for her movie.
And
so continue, Patrick.
Yeah, the casting is great. Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Henry Cavill, I thought actually acted a little bit better in this version, in this movie than in Man of Steel, which I thought he was kind of flat, and so with the other actors.
I thought he was flat in this movie. So
I wouldn't necessarily say that he was flat, but the character he was playing was flat.
Yeah.
Because in the first movie, it's Superman, an alien who's still trying to figure himself out. I mean, you look at the Smallville series, it's the same thing with Tom Welling. He's not super energetic. He's not totally flat, but at the same time, he's still trying to figure stuff out. That's the first one. I do agree that he was definitely a little bit more emotional in this one, just because he's lived a little bit more. But no, I agree.
Yeah, and the action was great. Which one, I could actually make out the action. It was well choreographed. It's not like with the Dark Knight trilogy where I think by the time Rises came, I could actually see the action that they were actually going for. And it was, very stylized. And Zack Snyder, who a lot of times his slow-mo can get on my nerves, especially when it's not deserved and it feels like he's just shoehorning it because he's just trying to make that his calling card. Yeah. But there were perfect moments in the action where he had it he had the characters posed at the right moment where that's like straight from like a panel.
Yeah.
Like that one grappling hook moment that was straight from the Dark Knight Returns cover. Mm-hmm. That was great.
The first time that Batman sees Superman, which you see in the trailer, which is he's driving the Batmobile and the headlights hit Superman, and then it cuts to Batman in the Batmobile. His eyes kind of widen a little bit. He's like, "Oh, it's this guy."
Yeah.
So that slow mo sequence I thought was pretty cool because it was like they just saw each other. What's gonna happen?
Mm-hmm. And Hans Zimmer score was good, especially like the main track that I think that kept on playing, especially around Superman was really good, and Wonder Woman's theme kicked ass.
Yeah, definitely.
It got me going whenever I heard like "fuck girl." And,
it definitely gets you amped.
Yeah, it does. I think that was pretty much all I liked. What I didn't like was really the story and just how it was structured and how there was so many things going on, so many storylines, so many I think dilemmas with all the characters that I was actually having trouble getting attached and invested with. I think the conflicts with all the characters. I definitely agree. It's more of like a Batman movie. Therefore, I was actually more on his side and just actually getting invested with what he was going through than for Superman, who they kind of just picked short moments which should have been longer. Like I think him with Martha on the farm, I thought that scene was way too short. I was actually wanting that to actually continue. It was just, and just like with Man of Steel, I think a lot of the dialogue that he shares with with his character, with his side characters like Lois, Martha, and even his father, they don't really speak realistically to me. That it's very pep.
It's
inspirational.
It's super comic booky.
Yeah, well, not that, but it's just very inspirational speeches, like one after the other. They don't really speak like human beings to me, and so it was there again.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, we never really see them on an everyday basis with each other, and he really only goes to his mom, or at least the past 2 movies, or his dead dad, about when he really, really needs them.
Yeah,
and that's, I guess, when you need the emotional, inspirational speeches. But
yeah, I mean, considering what this film and what Zack Snyder was trying to do and trying to cram so much shit in there. I mean, there were times when I thought the Justice League references were kind of forced, but there were also moments where they actually got me kind of hyped just to see what they're going to do, the following years. So like seeing that Wonder Woman photo, World War I with Chris Pine is like, yes, like it's 1 more year away.
Yeah,
and considering like all like kind of the negativity that was being said by critics, like this is gonna be like, I thought it was gonna be a lot worse than actually ended up being. I thought it was.
I saw the phrase like "beautiful disaster" like tossed around a lot or whatever, something along those lines along the credits. I didn't read any articles before this movie. I wanted no opinion. I avoided everything. Patrick told me he listened to a spoiler-free review. I was like, dude, you listen to that? I don't want anything. I don't want anything at all.
Right.
So I didn't go through that, but I did see like headlines. There's like "beautiful disaster," but no, I definitely agree it wasn't that bad.
No, yeah, I mean. Oh, shit, I just lost my
Definitely better than 34% on Rotten Tomatoes. They can shove it.
I give that like I would give it
More than 50.
maybe like a 60.
Yeah, I'll go 60. 60's fine.
I mean, the
Well,
film does it try to do too much? Yes, it does. But when it hits, it really does.
Yeah.
So I give it like a 7.
So
10.
that's good. So how long are we going on right now?
Hour 16.
So around hour 16 minutes. There's just one thing I want to ask real quick for everybody here, and that is with this movie. Do you think this first big team up type movie, how does it compare to Marvel? And do you think it could have been in a better way, or do you think that they should have done less? What is your opinion about how they're introducing these characters and how DC is currently doing their stuff right now? Dan?
I tried not to compare it to Marvel because I think they're different beasts. I was saying as we were leaving the theater, it's...
Yeah, my little brother was saying, he saw it tonight too, and he was saying that it doesn't do so well compared to Marvel, is what he said, and I showed it to Dan. And go ahead.
And so I came up with the analogy of it's like comparing James Bond to Jason Bourne.
Ooh, okay.
And it's like they're both action movies, they're both about espionage, right? And they're both spies and whatever. But they're not the same, right?
Sure.
I mean, they
Different style,
very
different
different. Yeah, exactly.
DC's James Bond.
DC would be James Bond, Daniel Craig James Bond, just from tone wise, and Marvel would be Jason Bourne, just because they're the other ones.
I would actually flip it. But
Would you?
Yeah.
I said earlier Bond would be Marvel.
Well, it's funny. It's kind of weird to compare Jason Bourne to Marvel because Jason Bourne's pretty bleak.
I just mean as far as like comparing espionage to espionage is like the same thing as comparing superhero to superhero. That was the only
Right. Yeah, good point. Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
So, as far as like what they're doing though, I think DC kind of has. I think they have their act together, but I don't want to keep seeing mediocre movies, and I'm a little afraid that like Suicide Squad I think will kill because it's kind of its own little thing.
And the director really isn't known for this kind of stuff. He's known for doing like cop dramas and like
right.
I think
he's a fantastic director.
Yeah, so
I can go into that.
Be more unique take on that.
Yeah, so I think where Zack Snyder, as much as I enjoy his vision and stuff, I kind of wish they would shake it up from here. Like I kind of wish he wasn't doing Justice League
It's a little
now.
campy.
Yeah, so I kind of would almost be like
Joss Whedon's not doing anything.
stay on as like a producer or maybe even a writer or something like that.
Because after this we got Patty Jenkins with Wonder Woman and he is producing something.
Yeah, we do have some different styles with the different
coming
movies
up.
being
But as far as the
directed,
Justice League movies, they're going to look just like this.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think Zack Snyder is a mediocre director. I mean, he's had his hits like Watchmen and whatever, but I think he makes mediocre movies that
have a great look to them.
They look nice, the characters are good, but the story just is never there. I think even with Watchmen, which was great, Rorschach, cool, Dr. Manhattan, awesome, whatever. But the story was just like all over the place, and like again, he takes on these big projects because he always. And I don't know if I was on air when we did this, but I said I want to see Zack Snyder do something that's not, or is his own work. That's not an adaptation, because that's really what he's known for, is adaptations.
Yeah.
So, is he a good director, or is he just good at taking other people's work and making it look flashy and good? So that's what I would want to see. So, I guess after this long-winded answer is, I think they have something good there, but I'm not totally hooked yet.
Okay. Gerald?
I guess if I'm going to compare it to Marvel, which I've done both. I've done the side of comparing it to Marvel, and then I've done the side of like, well, they're two completely different things. Because they're very different styles. I've always been more of a DC person. As a kid, I always, followed DC characters a lot more than I did Marvel characters. So for me, this is the movie like the Avengers that everyone was like waiting for. Like, oh, this is the movie. Like, all these superheroes are going to kind of come together. For me, this was that, and that, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman all on screen together kicking ass. And I've been waiting for that, and I thought that it gave me that justice. There are some other things I would have liked to see maybe, but overall, I got what I wanted, what I was expecting to get. So I think it sits well, and that it sets up the universe, and it's giving us a different universe from Marvel. I liked how they didn't try to be Marvel, and that was a thing that like some people were saying when they released their lineup for all the movies coming up, like, oh, now they're just copying Marvel and that kind of thing, or they're basically going to be Marvel. And I looked at it as, well, they're different anyway, so I want to see how DC does their universe, and I like what they're trying to do. I do agree to some extent with Dan in that I don't know if I want them all to be Zack Snyder style. Obviously, not all the movies are, but the Justice League movies are directed by Zack Snyder. And there are some things I like about Zack Snyder's style. I like him as a director. I do think he's a good director in that he can get what he wants out of his actors, and there are a lot of things that I've liked about his movies, from 300 to Watchmen, Man of Steel. But at the same time, there are some things that have me concerned as far as like just I don't know how to put it, but like the visuals are great, but that story does have to get stronger. I think it's a bit of a step up from Man of Steel as far as the story is concerned, but it does need to continue to get better. So hopefully moving forward, we'll see some writers that will come on board and do some work.
Hi, we're here.
Right.
We're here.
Speaking of writers, I like Goyer a little bit, but he has been behind a lot of the DC movies that have had some issues that a lot of people don't like, and I think for the sake of critics, if they want this to really like get off the ball with them, I try not to pay too much point to critics, but what I will say is that they might need to start pulling away from Goyer. I did like Chris Terrio was the other writer that worked on this, and I think what he brought to the table definitely what helped this movie a lot from a story standpoint. And I feel like if it was just Goyer, it might not have been as good. Because even with Man of Steel, I feel like
it was like kind of Batman Begins how they structured it.
Exactly, yeah.
Going back and forth with the flashbacks.
Because I think Nolan actually had a part in the story.
I think he did too. In the story, at least,
he did.
And Nolan's one of those guys where he's a great storyteller, but again, he's not a comic book storyteller. He's not a superhero storyteller. Because what he's told with the Dark Knight movies was a detective story about this guy who becomes Batman in like a modern world, which is cool. It's great, but he's a different type of storyteller that I think moving forward for the DC universe, we don't necessarily need his style per se.
No, I think Marvel definitely has that advantage. Well, they had that advantage with Joss Whedon, of somebody who didn't off the bat start with comic book movies.
Yeah.
He started with what? Firefly was one of his first things.
Yeah, Firefly was
his
thing, but that was
Buffy. Actually, I think Buffy.
I think Buffy was first.
Buffy's first thing, right? Not comic book. Firefly, not comic book. Sci-fi. fantasy.
See, he's got the fantasy elements,
But not comic book. Zack Snyder, we know him best for all of his comic book stuff. And I think they had the advantage of just somebody who was super, truly passionate about making this great, epic movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And not saying that Snyder doesn't share the same vision, but I don't know. I think that even as all DC fans, true DC fans, we're not behind him. And I think that's really unfortunate for all of us. But it's just true. We're not 100% behind him.
I'm probably behind him a little more than some people are, but that's just me because I like him.
Mm-hmm.
I like Zack Snyder, but that's a whole different conversation.
Well, considering just like all the news that was coming in about, okay, this character is gonna be in Batman vs Superman, this element's gonna be in too, so just like it was gonna be this clusterfuck of a juggernaut. Actually, I think it wasn't as bad as it could have been, and I think it was an okay start for DC's new cinematic universe. Mm-hmm. I'm really actually looking forward to Wonder Woman, not because she's one of my favorite characters, but just it is a different director, even though Snyder is producing it. I just want to see if it'll have like a different look, a different feel, and if it'll be interesting to me for the rest of the lineup. Definitely.
Cool. Is that all you
got? Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm intrigued what the film gave me for the Justice League. I thought the Trinity worked well together.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's enough for me to get excited for the Justice League movie.
Good. Gerald and Patrick and I talked about this on the drive over here, and as far as like compared to Marvel goes, we've seen the first Marvel movies. It's all origin story. Why? Because they've never really had original stories for characters like Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor, except back in the 80s.
Yeah,
maybe
in the 60s.
And I don't think they even revamped them that many times.
So they have all the origin stories. DC has been pushing out stuff, being animated movies, animated shows, live action shows, live action movies. Yeah, and in the comics, we know. Everybody knows these origin stories of who they are. Superman, we know he came from Krypton. He's an alien, dropped off here by baby Batman. We know his parents are dead. Flash, we know he was struck by lightning. Aquaman, we know he's the king of Atlantis, right? Wonder Woman, we know that she is Amazonian, is this powerful warrior. For all these characters, we know who they are. So what I'm really looking forward to in the DC universe, which I hope this is where they're going with it. I don't definitely know, but I hope this is where they're going with it. In that movies that are standalone Flash and standalone Aquaman, they're not super origin stories. You're kind of just plopped in there. Wonder Woman, it's a little different right now. We obviously know because they're starting back in World War I. But for her, I think it's a little bit more important to get that backstory because she's one of those characters not everybody knows the total one for.
Yeah.
So that's been really cool. Another character like Victor Stone as Cyborg. We kind of know Cyborg from Teen Titans. They might show the accident, but because they showed him basically coming together from the magical cube, whatever it was, and becoming officially Cyborg, he's already Cyborg. Why would you go back from this clip that you already showed us and show us an origin story?
Yeah.
They already have established these characters as being in this world. They can already just jump into the world, and it's like an everyday thing. So after this Justice League movie, you have a standalone Flash movie, which maybe he's taking on Hunter Zolomon or somebody. You have a standalone Aquaman movie. Obviously, probably going to be taking on Black Manta because he's the main Aquaman villain. You have Cyborg. Cyborg could form a Teen Titans if he wanted to.
I feel like they will hint at Teen Titans in the Cyborg movie.
I mean, regardless of what they can do, they have all these opportunities to not do the same thing that Marvel did of starting an origin story.
And that's another thing real quick. Even if it does turn out to be like the standalone movies that they're doing are origin stories, when you look at their lineup, there's so many movies where you can tell team-ups are happening that come in between those standalone movies that we're not waiting like 10 years before we finally get the team-up movie. We're like, okay, we got our standalone origin story or whatever, but we know that Justice League is coming out the following year, or Part 2 is coming out the year after this standalone movie or whatever. So it's kind of like they're just telling us simultaneously, counting down on time. And I don't know if that's just a catch-up tactic or what, but I like that approach better than, Marvel was like, okay, we're gonna give you a Hulk movie, then we're gonna give you an Iron Man movie,
Well,
then we're gonna give you a Captain America movie.
They're building up,
and then they build up to it.
Their whole thing's building up.
But like even me watching all those movies after what, like I would have to go see movies about characters I didn't necessarily care too much about.
Yeah.
Or whatever, just so that I can go see.
Exactly, and Marvel's definitely one of those movies that if you haven't seen the one before that, you're not going to understand the newest one.
And DC's taking this approach where, like, see Dawn of Justice, but then you can watch Justice League and all these other movies, and then we're going to give you the standalone movies in between that might be an origin story, it might just be a standalone film,
and we'll probably
but you don't have to worry about them connecting to.
And we'll probably make some references, but it's not going to be the references aren't going to lead the story.
And by dropping us into these, like into the Flash movie where we don't really see his origin, we get to see Flash being Flash. It's not like if it would be an origin, it would kind of almost like the first act would just be with.
Or it's like all right, but. I think what they're trying to avoid is avoiding each of these movies being a Man of Steel movie, where it's these characters realistically coming into their own, because they're just plopping us in there right now. And again, DC's been pushing out stuff year after year after year. Always a new animated show every year or every other year. Always a new animated movie every other year that always does well. All these things do really, really, really well. So we just know these characters. We know who they are. Even Marvel fans probably know about more DC stuff than a diehard DC fan who knows about Marvel stuff.
Yeah, you're right.
So we're just there, and it's happening, and I'm really excited just to see them.
It's a great time to be a super.
Put us in there. It's a fantastic time to be a DC fan. Really is, especially this year. Waiting for Suicide Squad to come out. Super excited. I'm sure we're at least hour 40 minutes.
We're at an hour and 30 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, wrap it up.
Yeah, we're all good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Cool, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this super long synopsis of Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. Go see it. Highly recommend it. Thanks again for listening to the Geekcast podcast. My name is Greg St. Clair.
Dan Whitehead.
Patrick Howard.
With
Gerald Foster.
Come with us next time. Same geek time, same geek channel.